recording. All right, welcome to this webinar today, third-party integrations. And it's great to have everybody here. We'll see what we can do. Hopefully we can do some good things here today about this. It seems like we have quite a bit of interest. So, first of all, let's talk a little bit about why we're doing third-party integrations. Okay. Let's see. So first of all, the reason why you might think about third-party integrations, which means software that's external to QFloors, right, is that you can get additional functionality and features that's perhaps outside of the core software product that you're using, right? Like QFloors. QFloors is a product that a lot of you use every day. You're in there quite a bit of the time while you're at work, and you can add additional features onto things that QFloors may not do. And so that's usually why people look at integrations to other software outside of QFloors. Okay. It also can save some time and mistakes through these connections to other software. Instead of manually typing information in from software outside of QFloors, that information can be transmitted electronically and automatically into our software or outside of our software for that matter. And it can save time and mistakes by doing electronically instead of manually. And the other reason people do these integrations is that you can bring data in from outside of a program like QFloors and store that data in a centralized location like QFloors, so that you only have to go to one place to see all of the information. You don't have to bring up multiple programs all the time, right? So these are just some of the reasons why people consider using third-party integrations. Okay. So the reality of this, when you're connecting to software, when you have two software programs connecting together to share information, the reality is sometimes the connections or integrations are pretty good, and sometimes they're not really good. Sometimes they're pretty bad. And so just depending on how the software companies work together, really depends on what the experience is going to be for the user, right? And the methods that are used to do the integrations. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the methods that are used, okay? So types of integrations. There's some language that sometimes is used when we talk about integrations. Push is a type of integration. And when we say push, that's when a software package is pushing data out to another software program. So, for example, RLM and Patriot, which are a couple of packages that integrate with us, they push information to QFloors, right? So they're pushing that information to us. Pull. So that's when, for example, QFloors or a software package is going to go out and pull or request information from another software package, and we're pulling information in, okay? So push and pull, just depending on what vantage point you're from, right? Then you have what we call a two-way integration, where you're both pushing and pulling information from other software packages. A good example of this would be B2B, right? So when we're working in the B2B land, we're sometimes pulling information from there and sometimes pushing. So we pull information when we're getting product catalogs. We're pushing information when we're sending electronic POs, okay? So you can kind of see here that there's a couple of different ways to do these integrations, pushing and pulling information. Okay, so let's talk about types here a little bit more. So I think many people have heard the term API or web services. This is the newest type of integration that has really become more popular, probably within the last decade or so, and especially even within the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's really become a lot more popular. Okay, and what a web service is, or APIs are, it's a new way of allowing websites really to talk back and forth to one another. Okay, and the way that we talk back and forth is really a real-time thing. The reason it's become popular is because the integration time has really gone down when people are using web services or APIs. Sometimes you can connect your software within, you know, even minutes, or 10 to 20 minutes instead of days. And so it's become really popular. QPro, which is our new software platform, uses web services exclusively to communicate not only between our user interface but other software programs. And what this will do is it will allow QPro to be integrated to other software programs seamlessly, very quickly. And so our technology, our new technology, is very much based upon this. There are a couple of things in QFloors that uses APIs too, but it's pretty difficult because of the way that QFloors was designed 20 years ago to really get into extensive use of APIs, which is one of the biggest reasons why we're developing QPro, right? Okay. So again, as I kind of just described, this is sending requests to a website over the internet. Okay. Then you have another type, which would be for installed applications like QFloors, right? Which is a direct database interface, or there are some other ways to interface, but they're really pretty difficult. They're expensive to develop, and it gives limited access because usually the interface has to be, the engineers have to talk to each other to make these interfaces work. So it becomes very expensive because it's almost like you have to have a custom interface between each application. Where with the web services, it's a lot easier just to publish how to integrate to your application, and people can read the documentation and almost do it without the engineers even being involved. So there are a couple of different types of ways to interface. So primarily when QFloors is interfacing, usually it's not with APIs, okay? Just in a few instances that it is. So anyway, just so you get an idea. Then you have these other industry specific interfaces like FCB2B, where everybody gets together, kind of agrees on how to communicate, and you can get a community of people to integrate together, right, in very sophisticated interfaces. But you will notice that everybody kind of has to be in agreement there, and sometimes these things take a long time to develop and for everybody to agree. But in the end, they can be very useful too. So the top one, web services, is kind of more of a wide open interface. Then you get down to more specific with these installed application interfaces, and then industry specific. So these are just kind of 3 examples of how interfaces can happen and how software can talk back and forth to each other. Okay. Today, this is just kind of an overview of kind of how things happen when interfaces and integrations take place. But today we're going to focus more on just QFloors integrations, okay, and at a high level. So over the years, QFloors has developed some integrations between other software companies that have been expensive to develop, and they're pretty specific to other applications, but nonetheless they can be useful. And so we're going to go through some of these integrations today. Okay. Any questions on anything that we've just talked about? Doesn't kind of look like it, but it's just a generic general overview of integrations, why we do them, and what's possible. Okay. So, here's a list of some of the integrations, more popular integrations that are used in QFloors. Okay, so we talked a little bit about FCB2B, and we will talk a little bit about that just because it is one that's really popular within QFloors and people should know about. Measure Square, QLeads, RLM, QOrders. All of these integrations we're going to touch on quickly. Nothing real in depth, but pretty quickly, okay? So we're going to start with FCB2B. Okay, so I think most of you are aware that through FCB2B, it's been a standard that's been around for a long time, 20 years. QFloors has been involved in every single one of the meetings from the very first. Every year I've gone to a meeting. I've never missed a meeting. So we've been very involved and heavily influencing the way B2B works and goes. And all the major people in the industry are involved here. The major suppliers are involved. The major software companies are involved. We all get together and decide how these things are going to work. One of the major things that people, and most popular thing that people always use with FCB2B are product catalogs and downloading the catalogs from the suppliers down into the software companies' local software, like QFloors, right? And you can get things like pricing and definitions, private style names, things like that from these catalogs. You can also get vendor bills that you can download. So the vendors, instead of having to retype in all of your vendor bills, many of these suppliers will give you their bills that can come automatically into QFloors. Electronic POs, we talked about that just a little bit, where you can actually send a purchase order through QFloors to the supplier through B2B. This prevents mistakes. Especially we see this for larger companies, saves them a ton of time. I know that they're saving people, just resources on people and stuff, especially people that are sending a ton of POs every day. Okay. Advanced shipping notices is one that fewer people know about, but basically through advanced shipping notices, you can get your dialots put automatically in instead of having to go back and retype in the dialots. You can also get tracking information, tracking numbers that are put into QFloors from advanced shipping notices. So those are a couple of things that you may not know about with advanced shipping notices. Okay. You should know that we're working right now on putting barcodes into FCB2B so that the companies that adopt those, in the future, you no longer will have to print out a label out of QFloors and attach it. They'll be able to get those through advanced shipping notices, and those barcodes will automatically be put into your system for you. Which will, the obvious reason we want to do that is it really helps in receiving, right? You don't have to, you can just hit the barcode as the things are coming off the truck. So, and then the other thing that FCB2B does is web services. Many people are aware of this. Not every vendor can do this, but you can check stock 24/7 without having to call people. You can get the related items for all the products that are in the catalog for that vendor. So that would be like your trim pieces, glues, all that kind of stuff. You can check, and you can actually assign those to a QFloors sales order through a web service call. And then the thing that's coming here in the future pretty quickly would be the order status, so that you would be able to go to our materials screen. There will be an order status button there that you can press on, and you can see what the status is of a material that's coming in before it actually gets here, instead of calling on the phone, right? So that's one that should be coming here within the next few months. Okay, so that's B2B. You just check here. No questions about B2B, right? Okay, if I could, let's see. Looks like most people are muted. Hearing a little background noise, but we'll continue on. Make sure that you hit your mute button if you haven't done that already. Okay, let's talk about Measure Square here for a second. This is a program that's really popular, so we're going to spend a little bit more time on Measure Square here for a second. By the way, before we hop off of B2B, I just wanted to call to everybody's attention real quick that if you go onto our QFloors website, right, and go to partners here, let's see, and actually I'm in the wrong place now. I think they changed our I should have gone here before, I guess. Ron, do you want to help me? Where is the B2B page? Oh, there it is. Sorry. I'm listening. Okay. So if you go down here, B2B certifications, you can see all the B2B vendors that we're doing B2B with here, as well as all of the things that are supported by those vendors, right? You'll notice over at the complete right-hand column over here at the far right, this has to do with web services and the services that are supported by the current vendors right now. The SC, you can see the SC stands for stock check right here. So all the different things are listed there. Anyway, I just thought I would just show you that real quick. All right, let's come back to Measure Square. Okay, so with Measure Square, we have a bunch of different interfaces that we have here. Let me just show you real quick. So I'm going to come over to QFloors over here. So when we're dealing with Measure Square obviously is the measuring software that's integrated with us. They have a couple of different products. They have one for the iPad, they have one for the desktop, and a couple of variations of both of those. First of all, we're going to talk about when you create an estimate inside of Measure Square, you can save those estimates, whether you're on an iPad or on the desktop. You can save those estimates to their cloud, what they call Measure Square Cloud, right? And when you put them up there on the cloud, then QFloors can go and pull those estimates from their cloud and put them inside of QFloors, okay? So in order to do that, you've got to do a setup here. Underneath our integrations tab, there's a Measure Square setup screen here. By the way, this integrations is new. It's a new menu item inside of our latest version of QFloors. So if you click on Measure Square here, you'll see there's a couple of different options. And we have here our M2 Cloud interface, which you will need to get your M2 ID here in QFloors and your API key. Now, the API key, I actually had one saved and then I deleted it. Let me see if I can come over here. We'll just come over here. Okay. So in your Measure Square Cloud, when you're going into your setup, you'll notice that there's a group management option right here. And underneath group settings, you have your API key right here. So if you copy this item right here, okay, and come back over into QFloors and put that API key in right down here, that's what they're asking for. Your M2 ID is the same one that you use to get into your cloud. So if you use those two items right here, put them in here, push your OK button here, you now can then be connected to your Measure Square Cloud from QFloors. Now, what you're going to want to do is go to a proposal. Let's just create a new proposal here, and we'll call it M2 demo. Okay, we'll go ahead and save this. By the way, when you do this, you have to have at least a last name in here for this to work, for the integration to work. So if I hit save here, and I'm now on my M2 demo, it's a proposal. If I hit my estimator button right here, it's going to ask me for a project name. If I just leave this blank and push OK, it's going to give me the last 100 projects that I've been working on. Okay, the last 100. And if you archive, they should not show up on this list. I know we have a bug in there right now, but we're working on making sure we get that out of there. So it should just be the last 100 that you are working on right here, okay? If when you push on the estimator button, you type in part of the project name, like I already know there's one in here for Mohawk that's got MOH, and you can see that it matches all the ones that say MOH here now. So that might help pare down finding what you're looking for, especially if you've been doing things for years and years, and you need to find one from a long time ago, you'll want to use that feature. Find the one that you want. I'm going to use Mohawk Test right here. And then it's going to ask me, do I want to save PDF to the document manager, right? So this has to do with the PDF, and we'll take a look at it here in a second. The PDF document that's saved with your Measure Square project, okay? And if I click yes, it'll put that PDF into QFloors for me automatically. And then the other thing is, do you want to overwrite customer information? I'm going to put no. If you say yes, it'll take, like right now, this project didn't have any first name, last name, or address stuff from Measure Square, so I'm going to put no. If you say yes, it'll overwrite the sold to information. Okay. Now you can see that it loaded in the project information from Measure Square from the cloud. Okay. So this interface is really good. This cloud interface is really good for smaller projects, retail projects, retail replacement type projects. Probably not so good for massive commercial projects. We're going to show you how to do that here in just a second. You know, if you have like a 20-story building, commercial building that you're doing, you would probably not use this interface. If you're going out and measuring a house with an iPad, that's more what this is used for. Okay. All right. So that's our our Measure Square Cloud interface with the estimator. Okay, we put the sales order in with the last name. We did our searches, our name search, or the last 100, and then the PDF to document manager. Let's just kind of show you what that was here really quick, and then we'll go back to this manual import. So if we come back over here now, we're going to hit our save button, and then come back on. You can see that now I'm on here that the Docs button has gone blue, so it shows that there's a document that's saved there. And it shows me my PDF. Let's see if I can double click on it and bring it up here real quick. Okay, so this is the PDF that was there real quick. This PDF that was saved, right, with Measure Square. So you can see it's got the 3D view, the 2D view with the products, and then the products that are here. So you should be pretty familiar with that. Automatically saves it in the document manager with QFloors. Okay. All right. Any questions with that? Looks like there is one question. Can you show me how to upload a PDF again? You're actually downloading the PDF, and the PDF automatically comes when you hit the estimator button. Okay, so when you hit estimator, there will be and after you select the project, so if you hit this, you do, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you do Mohawk, and then you select the project right here. When you download, it will ask you the question, do you want to save the PDF that's associated with this Measure Square product? So it's automatically done if you click yes, I want to save the PDF. Okay. All righty. All right, let's move on then. We're going to show you how to do a manual import from Measure Square. Okay. So this is usually done through the desktop version or the commercial version of Measure Square. Okay. And there's a couple of manual imports that can be done. One is through XML export from FSDE, and then there's another one done through Excel. So I'm going to show you how to do both of these with Measure Square here real quick. So if we're in our Measure Square project right here, and you got to make sure that you've gone to the worksheet and that you have information in the worksheet. This is the part that's going to be imported into QFloors. Okay, so I'm on my desktop version here. The order matters. If you want to change the order of what it looks like in QFloors, you simply move these up and down, right? By doing up and down, clicking on one of these, moving it up and down, right? So you can change the order of it. The description here will go into the comments. So whatever's in this part right here will show up on the individual comment lines right here. Okay. The other important part is labor, right? If you don't have labor clicked off right here, it's always going to go into the product section of QFloor. So if you want it to be labor, click on the labor ones and make sure that it's marked off as labor. Otherwise, it'll go into product, the product section of QFloors. Okay. So all you'll do here is once you have this worksheet looking the way like what you want it to look, okay, you're going to come over into the File menu right here. You're going to hit the Export. Let me come off of there real quick. See where it says Export Measure Square? Kind of goes over the top of it. Export Measure Square Report. Okay, then you do Export FSDE File. This file will be the one that will come right into QFloors automatically. So I'm going to go, let's see, I'm going to go to this folder right here, Webinar Integrations. Hit Save. Okay. So now it's saved this XML file into my Calf Creek Medical folder right here. Okay. And now if I come back over to QFloors, I believe, let's see, I believe you're going to have to be on all locations if I remember right. Maybe not. Let's try this. I think you still have to create a new into desktop like this, save. Okay. The difference here is on the integration screen, when you come down to Measure Square, you have to have manual import instead of M2 Cloud interface selected in order to do it this way. Again, this is going to be for projects that are big, that are commercial projects, right? Bigger ones. Hit the estimator, and then you're going to come over to and find that file that we just saved, which is this XML file right here. We do open, and then it will say, do you want to update the customer information? Let's say yes this time. It should put the new information up here. You can see how I did that. It's warning me about some differences and some things. Should I use the imported costs? Yes. And now you can see that it imported that whole project here into QFloors. Okay. So that is one way to import. Okay. Another third way that we have, which we've recently added, sometimes people want to make adjustments in Excel, especially on commercial projects. They want to make adjustments in Excel before they import it into QFloors. Okay. And they have all kinds of formulas that they want to apply to the retail prices. By the way, it does bring in the retail price and the job cost when you do this. Okay. So if there are costs there. And so sometimes people want to make those adjustments in Excel, especially if they're doing a commercial project, before they bring it into QFloors. So there's a way to do that. I have already exported this into Excel to save a little bit of time. But what you do, this is the one where you have to go to all locations first. You come down into the import, and now you can see that we have a Measure Square CSV file. So you have to export from Measure Square out into Excel, save it as a CSV, and now you can see that I already have this Calf Creek saved as a CSV out here. You can just hit, do you want to import, and do yes. And you can see that it's, again, imported that whole Measure Square import file here into QFloors. Let's just open that up just real quick so you can take a look at it. This is what it actually looks like when it comes out of Measure Square into an Excel file. The only other thing that I did do that you need to be aware of is sometimes Measure Square puts commas in their numbers here. I just changed, right-clicked onto here, changed format cells, and changed this into a number column instead of a formatted number. So take the dollar signs off, take the commas out. I just select number like this, where there's no dollar signs and commas. And every one of these columns that are like that, that's what I did. And again, you can adjust the numbers. Just do not change the column orders here. Keep all the columns in the same order, but you could even add more rows in here if you wanted to that weren't in Measure Square. You could put your own rows. Just don't change the order of the columns or the meaning of the columns, and you'll be fine. And then you can import that into QFloors. So those are 3 ways that you can import information from Measure Square into QFloors. If you have other questions, you can, more detailed questions, you can call us, and our support department can help you with any of those. Okay, all right. So just a couple more things about Measure Square, though. Let's get back over here. We talked about the worksheets, and just a couple of things about matching that I'm just going to mention here real quick. Okay. Whoop. I missed my. All right. If you want things to match up better into QFloors when they're imported, let me just give you a couple of just little tips here on Measure Square. Let's come back over here. Come back over here to the takeoff. So you'll when you're defining products in Measure Square to be imported into QFloors, this field right here, it's either going to be the style name of the QFloors product or the labor type in the QFloors labor type field. If it matches exactly the labor type, and if it is type labor, you got to have this as being type labor. QFloors can match up exactly to QFloors labor type. If it is a style name and the style name matches exactly, it will match up to the style. The better way to match it, if you want to match a product exactly, is with the vendor SKU. So if you have the QFloors SKU match this SKU right here, it will match exactly that product and bring in the style and the color exactly from QFloors. So those are just a couple of little tips on how to fill out the product in Measure Square if you want it to match exactly the QFloors product catalog or the QFloors labor type. And I think we all know style color here, right? So if this SKU matches the one in Measure Square, then it will match. Or the labor type, it's just the name. This name has to match exactly in Measure Square. Okay. Any questions about that? All right, we'll move on then. Let's go on to our next topic. We will spend less time. Measure Square is just a really popular one, so we spend a little bit more time there. Let's talk about lead importing, okay? So CRMs. So CRMs are software programs that are usually used to maintain leads, right? And contact information of people that you're doing business with, okay? So there's a couple of different CRMs that we integrate with and that you can use. Obviously, QFloors has an internal CRM called QLeads, okay? And the way that this, we're talking about in QFloors, whoops, we're talking about this lead screen right here, right? This is the internal CRM for QFloors. If you are tracking leads through this CRM here, there are some features that you can use, namely what we call QLeads, okay? You can get external leads from websites and from other sources, put them into a product we call QLeads, and then download those into QFloors automatically, okay? Like I said, there's you can get those leads from websites. There are a couple of partners that we have right now that are actually integrating to what we call QLeads. FloorForce, Creating Your Space, which is FloorForce and Creating Your Space are the same company, or Velocity, right? Are some of the companies out there that are creating websites for our customers, and then they have places in there where they can collect information from potential customers, and then they can put that information down into QFloors through QLeads, right? Some people might have your own custom websites that, you've hired your own programmer to do them. Your programmers can contact us and we can tell them how they can connect directly into QFloors to download these leads into our site, right? Or just other sources. There's other electronic sources out there that might be willing to stuff your leads into our QLeads program, which will then come into QFloors. And so let me show you what we're talking about here real quick in QFloors. So let's say that you're on your website. Customer fills out a form. One of your partners puts that lead into QLeads. Then all you have to do is come over here. Usually when they put a lead into QLeads, they'll send you either a text or an email telling you that they've added a lead into the system. And then from that point, you can just come over to QFloors, go to check for QLeads right here. Oh, I got to be on a valid location. So let me go there. And you can see that I already put a lead in there from an external site. Says there's one lead waiting to be downloaded. Should we download? I'm going to click yes. And it says that it added a new one in here. So if I come over here, you can see that Roger Rabbit was the new lead that was just added in here right now with all the information. There is the possibility of putting in the type, the advertising, what they were looking for. All of that stuff can be added through QLeads. Okay. There are some more advanced things that QLeads can do. When a lead is turned into a sales order, it can report back to QLeads, telling QLeads that, hey, we won this lead. It can even tell QLeads what products were ordered and things of that nature. So it is pretty cool for people that are using QLeads. Okay, so that's what QLeads is all about. Maybe you're using RLM, which is Retail Lead Manager, as your CRM instead of QFloors lead screen, right? So if you're using an external CRM like RLM, it does integrate into QFloors. And what it basically does is once you tell RLM that you want to create a new proposal into QFloors, it actually skips the QFloors lead screen and goes directly over to sales and creates a new proposal in the QFloors sales screen. The reason it skips the lead screen is because all the things that you would normally be doing on our lead screen, you're doing in RLM, not in QFloors. So it skips that whole process, comes over to this screen, creates a new proposal, puts in the customer name, information, and I think it also puts it into our contacts list also at the same time. Okay, so that's what RLM integration does for you. Okay, to get started on that, you need to contact RLM directly, and they do most of the setup. We do a little thing to help them get going, but you start by contacting them directly. I think they do a one-time charge to get you going. Okay. All right. I'm just going to check my questions. Okay, we're going to keep on going. All right, Q orders. I am going to just, because for sake of time, because we're getting a little short on time, I'm going to just briefly pass over this real quick. Q orders, what Q orders is all about is it's for property managers. So people that are managing apartment complexes, things like that, it's a way to have them that are working with floor covering stores. It's a way to have property managers enter in their orders outside of QFloors so that they don't have to call you or email you about which unit needs to be done, right? So there's it does require that you set up a QFloors template. So over in QFloors over here, you know how we have our templates here? You have to set up a template for every unit that this person could possibly select in QFloors. And then once you set up a template in QFloors, you have to go back to our QOrders webpage and connect that template to our QOrders webpage. Okay, so here's the thing about this. It is still kind of in a beta version right now. We have had some people use it. I don't know anybody that's consistently using it right now outside of testing. So we are still in kind of that test phase until somebody actually is using it full time all the time. I think the main reason is because there is a lot of setup that's required, both on our webpage and in the templates. But it is a pretty cool little program that we have going. There are 2 logins. There's one for the flooring store, and then there's one for the property manager. I'm just going to show you the property manager one here real quick. Let's see here if I can come to right here. Yeah, let me just. So the property manager, when they log in, they would see something like, once it's all set up, the property manager would come in here. They would select which property that they're dealing with. They would tell you which unit number they want to do, right? And maybe even give you a PO number for this. And then they just come down and choose, all right, which type of unit is this? Oh, this is a 1-bed, 2-bath. You could have multiple different kinds in here, right? Then they choose what areas they want done. I'm just going to say all. If you had the bedroom or the kitchen or whatever, they could choose those areas, and then they just hit create cell. Okay. And once they do that, it sends the order down into QFloors, and you don't have to retype it back in or anything. Okay. So that's the whole idea about this. I think I will just maybe log out here real quick and show you kind of the end game to all of this. Let me just type in. So the store, the flooring store would use this, like they would come in afterwards, after these are all put in, and they would click on their history here, and they could select which user, which property manager they're dealing with, right? And select the property, and then they could get a history of everything that's being done with that. So outside of QFloors, you don't even need to go into QFloors, and it would show kind of like the status in QFloors and when it's going to be installed and the balance on that. So it is a pretty cool little feature that we have, but again, it is still kind of in beta. But I thought I would just mention here, just in case somebody was really big into property management and was interested. Okay. All right, let's come back here again. Okay, going to talk about this rule briefly. I think most of you have known we have gone to outside payroll. As far as I know, that's working really, really well for the people that are using that. And we created a whole payroll webinar just about this. And so for the details on payroll and that kind of a thing, I'm going to refer you to that webinar, which, well, let me get back here a little bit. You know, on our QFloors support page, you'll know that there's training videos here, and then there's a webinar selection right here of webinars we've done in the past. Here's our payroll webinar. I'm going to refer you. It's a really good one if you need to know more about payroll. And when I mean payroll, I'm talking about W-2 payroll. 1099s still are done within QFloors, but W-2 type stuff is done outside of QFloors. And so the whole reason I bring this up is we do have an integration for any payroll software that is using a QuickBooks format, the IIF format. So if you're with a third-party payroll system, you can ask them if they do IIF, QuickBooks. And if they do, that format integrates directly into QFloors, okay? So any third party will work that uses this format, or you can even make your own IIF file if you wanted to integrate into QFloors, okay? At QFloors.com, underneath our knowledge base in QFloors.com, there's a Patriot Payroll IIF import document that tells you how to do that. Let's see. Oh, here it is right here. So this is under the knowledge base, Patriot Payroll IIF. You can see there's instructions on how this is done from Patriot specifically, but these other ones apply to just generic if you want to use your own file in here. You can download a sample of what an IIF file looks like. I actually did that already. Let's see if I can open this. No, I don't want that. Open with, just show you here real quick. So this is kind of like what it looks like, right? So you can see the different accounts that you would be using, the different amounts. And if you do this, it imports directly into QFloors and creates a QFloors bill for this. I'm not going to go through this for the sake of time, but let me get here. If you're over on the checkbook window over here, the employees window, you can see where it says import payroll right here. So you would find this, you would find your IIF file, do your import, and it puts it on the bills and credit screen for you. Okay. So that's what that's all about. Again, you don't have to be using Patriot. You could use other ones. We know of people that are doing other payroll companies. They use that IIF format, and it brings it right into QFloors for their W-2 payroll. Okay. Sorry, I'm cruising along here. I want to get through a few more of these. Again, this webinar is excellent if you need more information about payroll. All right. QProPay, I'm just going to mention real briefly. Again, there's a webinar out in our webinar section that I just showed you on QProPay. It gives you all the details about it. So it is a highly integrated thing that we're using now, and it works really, really well. I just thought I would mention also QLeads and QOrders. QOrders right now is, because it's still in beta, it doesn't cost, but it will in the future as we release that. QLeads also costs $50 a month. If you're using QProPay, we're waiving the fees for QLeads and QOrders. So I just thought I would mention that real quick. Again, this webinar is really what you need to look at if you're interested in QProPay interface. Okay. By the way, I will mention one of the other reasons I put this here is because if you are using a third-party processor, later on this year, we will have an interface for third-party processors that will go through QProPay. So I thought I would just put this in here just to let you know it's going to be another interface that will be coming out. Swell and Podium. Okay, so these interfaces and these software programs are used for a couple of different reasons. One is so that you can request Google reviews from customers that you've sold inside of QFloors, and they'll get a text message asking them to do a Google review. So both Podium and Swell do this. They also collect incoming requests from your website and kind of put them all into one place. So they've got a few different features that they do use, both of these software programs. Okay. Podium, real quick, let me just touch on it. Their interface to QFloors, they actually install a separate program on your computer that extracts the completed cells out of QFloors and then sends them to their Podium platform. So they have some parameters in there. You know, if it's over a certain dollar amount type of a thing, then it goes out there, and then by that, it will send a text out to their customers or to your customers asking them for a review and things like that. But it is an installed program. Okay. From my vantage point, here's a couple of things about Podium. They tend to be more focused on larger operations, in my opinion. They are more expensive, so it's $400 a month per location, and they only do yearly contracts. So you have to pay for the full year up front. We've had a few people that wanted to get out of those. It was not very easy. Okay, so but we have other customers that have used this service and love it, and swear by it. And so I think it just depends on what you're looking for. It is a very popular program, and a lot of people do use it. Okay. Swell is a new up and coming competitor to Podium. We're still in testing with Swell right now, but you will notice that in our latest version of QFloors, that they're under the integrations tab, that we do have a Swell option right here, and we are so we are using this to test with right now. Okay. I anticipate that by the end of summer into the first of fall that we'll be out of testing with them. So the interface is inside of QFloors, as I just showed you. Here's one difference. It is by location still, but we've got them to agree to $150 a month for our customers. So it's quite a bit less than Podium would be, and they are doing monthly contracts. So in my opinion, Swell's catering more to not the bigger customers, but a little bit smaller to more medium, which are a lot of our customers, right? And so that's just kind of an option. But they both of these services are both doing the same type of things. They're both competitors. Okay, so that's Swell and Podium integrations. Okay, we have a DocuSign integration here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Ron Clough here for just a second. And
Chad, does the recording keep going if we
I think so. Yeah, go ahead. Are you going to do it from your computer there?
It's
It shows it's still recording, so yeah, go ahead.
okay, very good. A website that allows you to send documents to your customers and get an e-signature. And they have a feature in their website that they call it e-signature. And that's the set of features that you want to use. They actually have many features that they offer, and some or all of them might apply to you. So it's be good to talk with them first and let them know what you do, how you do it, and we'll talk more about that along the way here. But they can tell you a lot of what they have that would work best for you, and then you can decide which ones you want to go with. It's a fast and secure way to send documents that require a signature. And not just a signature, you can have an electronic date, initials, other things. So but just a way you can send that document and the customer can electronically do what you need them to do to that document and send it back. That way you're not waiting for send it by email and you've got to print it and sign it and scan it and send it back to you, or snail mail or anything like that. It's very quick, very secure. So the recipient, your customer, receives a document through an email from DocuSign, and they sign it electronically. They just tap a couple of things where you've indicated that you want them to have a signature here or initials there, and the date automatically populates, and they can actually type text into certain spots if you want them to type credit card number or anything like that, and type that in. And then once they've signed it and submitted it, your DocuSign account, you receive a notification that it's completed, and then you have a contract. Setting it up, using it. So first you generate the QReporter invoice. So I'm going to bring up QReporter here. Let's bring up QFloors, and you'll click print, and that sends it into QReporter. So if you're using QReporter, you're already familiar with this. And two options from here, you can either export. By default, it's set to PDF here, and you export that, save this downloaded PDF file, and then you'll upload that into the DocuSign website. Or DocuSign does have a print driver, so when you click print, one of the options in here would be the DocuSign printer. Kind of like printing the PDF, where it's not really a device on your desktop or in the office there somewhere where it's going to print to paper. It's an electronic printer. So you'll click print, and
muted.
Print to the DocuSign printer. Click OK, and then you'll have a button that you'll click to finish in DocuSign. So it's into DocuSign, just a little bit of a streamlined feature. It's kind of nice. Once it's in DocuSign, so again, export to PDF or print to their printer driver. Then you apply a template that you've already created. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And that template basically defines signatures and initials and different things and where you want it. And then they sign it, and you receive a notification. So the setup, pretty straightforward. A lot of using DocuSign with QReporter is going to be what you do in the DocuSign website, in your account there. We'll help you as much as we can, but we don't know DocuSign. We've used it some, and so we know some things about it, but we're not experts, and we can't really do training for you with how to do their stuff. But we can help you as much as we can. We want to. As you know, we're here for you. So to set it up, first you'll export your QReporter invoice to PDF, so that export that I showed you a moment ago. And then you will need to upload it into DocuSign and create your template. And that's where you're dragging and dropping different tags to indicate where you want signatures and initials and dates and different things. Then you'll need to install that driver, so you have that handy. And there's also a feature that we can do for you if it's a really complex invoice. Let me come back to this invoice here. This particular one is got additional pages. This one doesn't ask for signatures, but I've seen them where our customer, one of you, has had us create a multi-page QReporter invoice with many spots in it for signatures to confirm that, yes, they've read and understand this and that, and they agree to this or that. Initials, signatures, dates, lots of different things to populate through there. So if it's really complex, there are some things that we can add into. We'll edit your QReporter invoice, and we can add some things where it's looking for a specific text that you have to make sure is not duplicated anywhere in the wrong spot, right? If we're saying signature, then you don't want to put signature in the text somewhere where you don't want an actual signature, because when we program it, it's going to look for this word signature or customer signature, or whatever is the indicator for where you want a signature or certain initials, things like that. So we can program some things in your report that will kind of streamline it when you get it into DocuSign and apply the template. Their system actually recognizes, hey, we think this template applies, and of the time, you're probably just going to take your QReporter invoice, export it to PDF, get it into DocuSign, create your template. And that's usually a one-time thing. You just create the template, and then from there on, you just sending your invoice, your actual invoice to it, and applying the template. And but the setup is a one-time thing. This complex invoice thing is usually pretty rare for us to have to do that, but we'll do it if you want. We can talk to you about it more if you need to. So that's the basics of DocuSign. I think it's a beautiful feature, very handy thing. You have to sign up for a DocuSign account and pay for that, and I think they have it by number of users and things. But so it is an add-on, but provides some very fast and secure ways to get your contract signed faster. Back to you, Chad.
Unmuted.
All right.
Let me mention one other thing. I don't think we mentioned at the beginning the QFloors users group. If you're not aware of it, go to facebook.com/groups/QFloors. If you haven't already signed up for that, you have to request to be a member of the group. And so send that request, and we'll get you approved. And then it's kind of a forum where you can ask other QFloors users, other customers, questions and respond to them. And anyway, it's a nice forum for you.
Okay, so I know we've kind of jetted through this pretty quickly. You know, there's not time. I mean, we could spend a whole hour on probably each one of these topics, but more or less, we wanted to give you kind of an idea of what some of the capabilities were. And we will, this was recorded, so we will post it out onto our site there, our webinar site. You can go back through it, and of course, you can always call us. We can help you with a lot of the details that maybe we didn't get to here. But more than anything, we wanted to just kind of give you an idea of some of the capabilities that we have in interfacing with some outside software programs. Okay. I think we will end this right now. I'm not seeing a lot of questions in the chat. I think we'll end this, and then we'll get to Becky's question here pretty